I was rummaging through my notes to come up with a sermonette or something. Morgan and I usually, on the fourth Sabbath, we go over to Tampa and help the Sovereign Church out. Ben Faulkner, since after his heart surgery and all of that, give him a little break. But anyway, I was rummaging through some old notes, and I found some things that I thought would be worth repeating. In the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you might be the world. Being a Christian is a little like the sails on a ship. It's not important what color they are, just whether they can catch the wind and move the ship, go somewhere. Real friends are those who, when you feel you've made a fool of yourself, they don't feel that it's permanent. A coincidence is sometimes when God performs a miracle and decides to remain anonymous. Sometimes the majority only means that all the fools are on the same side. I don't know where I found this, but I thought, it's been a while. I've heard it before, but I have no idea where I got it. And here's a good one. Remember that you don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. My sister really does have a parrot. I don't know if she got it from a bar or something, but at any rate, the parrot really has some choice words sometimes, as well as those that the parrots picked up, by living with her family. But one thing to remember, she said, is you need to live your life so that you're not afraid that if the parrot was ever sold, that it wouldn't end up in the town gossip's ownership. Parrot will tell you. You can almost carry on a conversation with some of those critters. It's amazing. And they don't even have lips. And they enunciate better than a lot of people. Some people gather material to build bridges that they never cross. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. Life is like an onion. You peel off one layer at a time, and sometimes it brings tears to your eyes. Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. Following the path of least resistance is what makes both rivers and people crooked. They could read that in Washington, couldn't they? When life draws to a close, make sure your heart is filled with more hope than regret. Two things that I've learned. Of course, I love astronomy, but there's a mighty creator of the universe, and the universe has a purpose for existing. I was listening to a radio interview the other day on WSF, and the host was asking somebody from a country where they had a lot of problems. I don't remember which one it was. And they were in dire circumstances, and the host of the show was saying, well, how these people, they seem so optimistic and upbeat. And how do they do that? And the guy from where the tragedy was, they trust in God that he will work all things out for good, that all is in God's hands. Then he said, give us hope. God reveals the end from the beginning, and to know that in the end, the good guys really do win. It's going to turn out okay. And that's what gives us hope and confidence in the future, that it's not just, who was that? Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, was it? Always downtrodden or something? One of the characters. I came across a list of things that is worth repeating. A basketball in my hands is worth about $30 maybe. A basketball in Michael Jordan's hands is worth about $33 million. It depends whose hands it's in. A baseball in my hands is worth about $10. A baseball in Cy Young's hands is worth multiple millions. It depends on whose hands it's in. A tennis racket in my hands, well, you can't kill a fly with one, but a tennis racket in my hands is useless. A tennis racket in Novak Djokovic's hands is a Wimbledon championship. It depends whose hands it is end. A rod in my hands might chase away a wild animal. I had a possum that got in the backyard the other day. A rod in Moses' hands will part the sea. It depends whose hands it's in. A slingshot in my hands is just a toy. A slingshot in David's hands is a weapon of war. It depends whose hands it's in. 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread in my hands might get you some fish sandwiches, fish taco. 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread in God's hands will feed thousands. It depends whose hands it's in. There's a plaque in our dining room in the dining hall that says, when life gives you more than you can stand, kneel. Let's put our concerns, our worries, our fears, our hopes, our dreams, our confidence in God's hands, because God's hands make the difference.